In this video, I want to talk about methods that you could use to evaluate the quality of your mixes or final masters and whether or not it makes sense to conduct a so-called car test that you might be familiar with. So if you're new to this channel, my name is Philip from Pick Yourself, and I created this channel to help you build a meaningful life based on your passion for electronic music. Whether you're in this to build a career out of your music, or if you just want to have this as a serious hobby, an important part of your life, then this channel is for you. So make sure to subscribe and stay updated. So in today's video, I want to talk about translation. And what does translation mean? Translation is the most important part when it comes to evaluating the quality of sound. So let's say you are a fan of the so-called car test, meaning you take your final mixes or your masters into your car to listen to them and to evaluate the quality basically. Now, for some people, this might make total sense because they are driving in their car every single day, multiple times. So they listen to the exact same system, they have the reference tracks that they listen to, and they know exactly how stuff sounds. When it sounds like this in the car, they know it sounds like that in the club or on small earbuds, and so on and so forth. So this is, I would say, a pretty good method for evaluating the translation of something if you are super familiar with a car. Now, a friend of mine he tells me that he always rents a car sharing car to quickly do a car test and check how the final mixes or masters sound. Now, to me, this doesn't make sense at all because he's just not familiar enough with the system. So the translation is questionable, and just going into a car to see how it sounds in a car is absolutely the worst way of evaluating the translation. Yeah, so it's always about knowing a system extremely well. So you could wake up in the middle of the night, listen to music on there, and you know exactly how it will come out on club speakers, for example, or on small earbuds. So, generally speaking, the car test is a crutch, in my opinion. It is something that you can use if you don't really trust your other devices. I think it makes much more sense to use the pair of speakers that you always use for producing music, or use the headphones that you always work on, and use that as your reference pair basically. So this is where you evaluate the translation. You're working on these same tools day in and day out. This is also, by the way, why I'm not a big fan of using multiple monitor sets. Generally speaking, it's a good idea to have one set that you really rely on, that is really good. And same holds true for headphones, obviously. So if you have this pair that works really, really well for you, then this means much more than a simple car test. Yeah? So even if you find that your music sounds great on your pair of speakers that you really trust and you know really well, and then you go into a friend's car and you listen to it, to the song that you've produced, and it sounds, yeah, good, but you see some obvious flaws, I would trust the speakers much more than the car test, obviously, because you don't know what room mode resonances are happening in that car. You don't know what comp filtering effects are causing certain things to sound differently. And so it's very dangerous to trust the car test blindly and just say, so yeah, okay, that's the final method for evaluation. So keep this in mind, the translation is what matters, and having one really trusted pair of speakers or headphones is the most important thing here. And in terms of methods to then evaluate the quality of your mix and master further, I would also see what your market basically says, so your target market. So that means just going back and forth with the same song over months, going back to your studio, tweaking it again, then listening on all the different systems, and then going back and so on and so forth. This doesn't really tell you a lot about the quality at all, because you might be blind anyway at this point, or deaf, so you don't really hear the differences anymore. So it's much better to put something out that you're generally happy with on your trusted pair of speakers or headphones, and then see how the market reacts. So are people commenting that they like the sound of it? Are other DJs picking it up and playing it in clubs? Then yeah, this is a good sign that it will work on club systems, for example, because otherwise no one would play it. Yeah? So I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope that you don't blindly trust any car test or whatever other method you come across. Also, if your friend has a super big hi-fi system, for example, and invites you to play your music on their sound, don't let this confuse you if something sounds a little bit off on that system. Don't let that confuse you, because you have to just figure out your one pair of speakers or headphones that you really trust. You have to get really good at evaluating the translation. Here's a little bonus trick for you that you might not have heard of. This bonus trick is to have a specific set of volume dialed in that you always work at. Yeah. So that means you find out a level that you want to work at, like volume-wise, that is not too soft and not too loud, so you can work on it for a very long time. And then your ears will calibrate to that level. Because at different volume levels, our ears react differently. So on some, this is called the Fletcher-Munson curve. You might have heard of that or not. If not, then just go to Wikipedia and check it out, Fletcher-Munson curve. This basically tells you that at different listening levels, your frequency response inside your ear and mind reacts differently. So at some levels you find out that there's more bass, even if there's not really. So it's just your perception that there's more bass. And the same holds true for the high end. So sometimes there's more high end, sometimes there's less high end. And this depends highly on what level of volume you're listening to. And it's not important to select the level where your ears are most flat. So this is what some mastering engineers recommend you should do. But it's actually quite loud, I would say. And you cannot really work for a very long time at that level. It's not super loud, but definitely on the upper edge. But the most important thing is to have one set of volume level that you are familiar with. So you always know exactly how stuff sounds when you're listening to it at this specific level. Okay, so I hope that it was helpful to you. Leave a comment below and let me know if there was something fresh or insightful. And also let me know if you have a question or want me to do a video on a specific topic. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and see you soon.